I still remember the first time I watched a sci-fi movie as a kid. Sitting with my family, I was amazed, especially by robots and high tech. It looked so cool, full of possibilities, a bit like AI today. And of course, that's also how I discovered Isaac Asimov. I mean, who doesn't know the three laws of robotics? I wouldn't call myself a sci-fi fan, but I really enjoy it. And I have a lot of friends who love it deeply. They are passionate, smart, and they really think about these things in a deep way. I always learn something new when I talk to them. Today, we are joined by two such players, Snakebite and Gareth, who just happen to be both players and big sci-fi fans. We will be chatting about the game through their lens as science fiction lovers, exploring how their love for the genre shapes how they experience our game. I'm your host Dashu, the community manager of Foundation Galactic Frontier. Let's dive in. Hello Snakeback and Gareth. How are you doing today?
Lovely, thank you.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Let's start with some introductions. Could you tell us a bit about yourself, what you're into, and how you discovered our game? And also what makes you say yes when I ask for podcast volunteers? Let's start with you, Snakeback.
Hi, I'm Snakebite. I'm from Germany. First of all, what I'm into, I like to go to the gym mostly. Also like IT stuff a lot. That's what I do personally and also in my job. I discovered the game really by chance. I played a similar game before, but that one got on my nerves in the end. So I looked for a similar game, which was just like a little bit of something that I could do in my off time. And that fit in quite well. Basically, I never done a podcast before, but I thought studied the game a little bit, spent a lot of time trying to organize things in the game. And so I thought maybe there would be good insight that from knowledge I gained playing the game to also give out to other players if they care to listen.
Thanks for sharing. Sounds like you really put thought and time into the game. That perspective will definitely add a lot to today's chat. And Gareth, how about you?
If you can pick up from the accent, I'm in Australia. I'm in the subtropics of Australia. I play a few mobile games in my spare time because I'm the dad of two energetic girls and I'm a scientist by trade. Yeah, I have been playing mobile games as nearly as long as mobiles have been out. Embarrassingly, I can't quite remember how I stumbled onto Foundation, so I'm going to put it down to good profile matching in my app store. Pretty sure I saw it as a beta tester and jumped on it straight away.
What kind of scientist are you?
I did genetics. Now I'm a bioinformatician.
That's cool.
Thanks for sharing. I love hearing how you both got into the game. I think, Gareth, you are recently joined the game, right?
Yeah, it feels like fairly new, but I've leveled up quite satisfyingly. And I realized I forgot to answer one of your questions, which is why did I say yes to the podcast? To be honest, a number of these games, you either play on your own and you play in isolation, like you can feel isolated. I'm going to say as soon as I joined Foundation, I felt quite welcomed by the playing chat, the global chat or the university chat, the guild chat. And I was very quickly engaged with other players, which actually made the game a lot more playable for me, a lot more friendly. And that's kind of why I said yes, because it was friendly and I wanted to kind of share that out with.
That's really nice to hear. I think you are absolutely right. The community of our game is surprisingly welcoming. It's not something you get in every game, and it makes a big difference when you feel like you are part of something from the start. So before we dive deeper into the game itself, let's shift gears a bit. Would you say you are both big sci-fi fans in general?
Well, for me personally, I started, I think, with Star Trek back in the day. My father showed it to me and also found the universe very interesting. Then I got into Star Wars, which was much more kid-friendly. Lately, not really lately, for the past, I think 6 or 7 years, I've been a lot into Warhammer 40K, which I'm sure you also familiar with. I've been geeking out with that a lot. Also found some people that geek about it as much as I do. So that's very fun.
Wow, Star Trek, Star Wars, and Warhammer 40K, you've really explored all corners of the sci-fi universe. I love that your dad was the one who introduced you to it all. And Gareth, how about you? Are you also a longtime sci-fi fan?
I actually was given a Spectrum computer, which ages me when you look that up as a youngster, than a tape drive. And the games I had to play on that, I needed to read the books. So I read The Hobbit just to play a computer game, and then realized I liked fantasy. And then that just exploded my mind. So for me, Doctor Who, early on, Star Wars, all the classics, E.T., Close Encounters. But Asimov's writing I came across, of all things, because it was a prescribed school book one year. So I don't know if I would have chosen it as a youngster, but school made me read it, and that was fine by me. As soon as I started reading, that was Caves of Steel, and then moved quickly into Foundation after that, and then kept exploring books in that universe as I've gone on.
I love how a game led you to The Hobbit, and then school led you to Asimov. Funny how those things stick with us. Speaking of things that stick, let's talk about the game. Is there a moment in Foundation Galactic Frontier that really stood out to you? Something fun, surprising, or just epic?
Something epic I don't have the first epic thing, sort of, if you can call it that, was first time I started the game, which was the visuals of the space game, like how the stars are made up, and then the planets are seen, and the ships, how they move around. It's nothing like super extraordinary, right? But for a mobile game, it's very nice to look at, and that's certainly something that helps it out. And also something that stood out for me, which also Gareth already talked about, was the aspect that was more on the social rather than the me, myself, and I grind every day to reach something. It was more about finding people and connecting with them and reaching something together, just yourself exploring the galaxy, right? So that for me kept me engaged for the first time.
And you are a guild leader, right?
I was till recently. I gave it over to a more cycle-based style of leadership in our guild. We run it usually democratic anyways. It's less of me being the guild leader, more being like the one that finally can click on the decision.
It really sounds like your guild has a great atmosphere, very collaborative, democratic, and community-driven. And I also heard that you organized quite a few guild events yourself. Could you share a bit more about that?
Of course. So I thought to myself that like the basic game loop is already quite engaging, but at the same time, I thought that like having a weekly event, which came back week after week, the usual improvements that you can make for your characters was certainly engaging, but there could be done more, right, for the game. So there's so many options that you can explore in engaging players, giving them something more to do, something like that is like maybe skill based or that you need to think about, which you also have done on Discord, I think, which was what's it called? Where we all sat together and you put up like little questions and where to answer them fast. What is it called again?
The trivia, right?
Yes, lovely. Trivia. That's the word. Sorry, not first language. Trivia, right. Wonderful. So that's what I thought. So I made, I think, like 4 events. One was envisioned by another player. But they were based about racing around in the galaxy or finding riddles together, or, for example, the Easter event where you have to find certain ships and they give you parts of a password. And if you win, you can always select overlords of certain systems, right? So you could win that, for example, or with a new system where as the prince could go and give out some rewards, you could take those times and give rewards out for players accordingly. And I thought that would be like very engaging. And the players that joined those events also found them quite fun.
That's really cool to hear. Sounds like you brought a lot of creativity and energy into those events. Thanks for sharing that, Snakebite. Gareth, and you, was there a moment in the game that really stood out to you? Something that feel especially fun or epic?
Yeah, sure. First of all, slightly humbled by that level of engagement. That's awesome. So well done. Hat off to you as well. Like in other games, I've been clan leader or guild leader or whatever the term is. And it's a commitment. It's a proper time commitment to pull everyone together and keep them engaged.
Sure
so good on you. Look, yeah, I tried to think on this question. I boiled down to 2 things that really were fun for me. One was from moment one, having a really cool story, getting in, enjoying the characters, their development, learning the universe or your version of the universe, the opponents, the struggles we're trying to emulate. So that was cool. And also the proper sense of trepidation or fear, where you start in the outer region and you work your way in as you get stronger and you're exploring and like, am I up to it? Am I going to get hammered in this fight and have to essentially retreat and build my characters up again? That was a lot of fun, exploring the whole map and kind of working out where I was in it and what I could do. But I also wanted to give a hats off to one thing that I think to me is unique in this game, or at least unique in my experience, and that's the Encyclopedia Galactica, a really cool source of truth. I did enjoy stumbling around the game and working out certain features and what to do, but also having a reference there to go and have a read and go, right, I was right, or no, I was very wrong, and now I can change my play style. So that one I've really enjoyed.
Thanks for mentioning the Encyclopedia Galactica. Our team really put a lot of love into building that. So it's great to hear that it's actually helping players like you in the game. Now, Snakebite, speaking of different parts of the experience, I'm curious, what's been the biggest challenge you faced in the game, and how did you deal with it?
The biggest challenge of the whole game was climbing with your server to the first spot on the server, right? I started off on quite a small guild, but together with great people, we achieved great things. And that we overcame this challenge of reaching this spot. And we're obviously not the same anymore. We conglomerated together with a lot of other fantastic people, right? But the way it drove people towards us and compared to others was communication again and a sense of belonging. So we didn't have basically one guy at the very top who just charged ahead at decisions and just made them by himself, but rather a lot of people giving input, like the officers, for example, giving input and thoughts into the process, how things could be done. And that sense of calm as well, of not reacting right away, also the consolidating and thinking about different options really made a difference. And also engaging with players and keep on chatting with them, engaging them to maybe also reach a certain like rank 4 spot, as we call it, which is basically an officer in the guild. I think those steps really helped elevate it. So it was less of a real grind to get there and more of a fun adventure where we just had a lot of fun, and other people, I suppose, saw that, therefore drove them towards us compared to other guilds. I think that was the greatest challenge, and I'm really glad we made it in a quite social way. We achieved it, right? In a happy, friendly way.
That's a really inspiring way to lead. Not just aiming for the top, but doing it in a way that brings people together. And I imagine once you are up there, it's not just about staying on top, but also keeping players motivated and engaged. How did you approach that part?
I suppose showing them, like sometimes it can be frustrating for players to not reach certain thresholds, and like making them understand how deep the game is in certain points, and showing them that what they see right now is the one thing they didn't achieve is like just a little thing that they miss out right now, but it's not that big of a deal in the great scheme of things. And there's other things they can focus on, giving them goals, giving them ways to engage with the guild really, and not having it so you log on and it's just the plain little bit of glitter and some numbers popping up and adding to other numbers, but more I'm happy to join online for a couple of minutes and have a little chat on how everyone's doing and have a fun little activity on the side. So I think that's the way we handled it.
I really like that. It's not just about chasing progress, but also building a space where people feel good about showing up. That kind of leadership definitely makes a difference. Gareth, how about you? What's been one of the biggest challenges you've faced in the game?
Yes, yeah, a more humble one. And it was part of that fun sort of exploration of the game and understanding how to contribute and do well in various events, like the top 100 event that's happening at the moment. And that was fighting for glory. It took me quite a while to work out how to fight for glory, where were the best places on the map to go, who was best to target. So there was where and who. And then thinking about this, maybe at my humble level 25 was learning how to run away from a glory fight that maybe I had bitten off a little bit more than I can chew. So yeah, just learning that as a skill. Also, as we were talking then, Snakebite, you were talking, it reminded me that during one of the previous Glory challenges, I was near our home planet and I was getting hammered by someone multiple levels above, and they'd been hassling me for hours, which was a little frustrating. I was really chuffed when a couple of the senior people from our alliance turned around. They must have been online and just from our guild, and just smashed that player. So that was satisfying to watch, that I could sort of hide around the edges of the more senior players and get away with it.
If I might add something, that's also why we were, me as well, but Dashu as well, was surprised by hearing that you were on your level on your server. Because usually, like, if you're not new anymore to the game, certainly not. But if there's servers regarding to the time that you joined, and therefore, like, when you have those glory events, you would face up against players that are almost at your level, right? And since you're on server 1001, you only get players that have played the game even longer than I have. So I can understand that, like, those glory events must have been really hard for you.
Yeah, look, to be fair, I also had a slow start to the game. I really got locked up on one of the early chapters trying to advance my reputation level. Just could not work out how to do it for a long time. And once I finally got through that break, managed to jump up. So maybe I was just a slow start, but I appreciate
definitely not. Those challenges are always challenging, no matter your level. I believe that. Even if you reach level 30, you still struggle against the last level. So it's very normal to struggle with the level.
Sounds like you've both been through a lot, especially you, Gareth. Glad you make it out alive. Speaking of that, I want to shift the focus a bit and ask about your impressions of the game's world building. Do you think the game does a good job welcoming new players who don't know Foundation, while still giving long-term fans something to get excited about?
Well, since I'm not that deep into the actual Foundation universe and I'm more here about the game, right? Mm-hmm. I looked at it at a certain other way of not really for the universe itself, but for the game itself, where you play it first time or you are a veteran in the game. So for me personally, the beginning was very epic, having this huge universe to discover and areas being locked off and a bit of secrecy, what might lurk behind there and how strong things can get, all the social interactions as well, especially in the beginning with all the different guilds forming up and consolidating. That was really epic to me. Now for veteran players for me, it's still engaging. However, there's some repetitiveness starting to creep in. Some rewards, like, for example, basic minerals or water or food or something like that, are becoming really irrelevant. You have so much at a certain point that it doesn't really, like, when you get a reward, when something like that shows up, you just don't see it anymore. It just doesn't matter, right? You have like 100 million of that resource, so why does it even matter, right? So I think having challenges in there which give you little meaningful rewards in that sense would really help, such as, for example, the basic legendary champion crystals, for example, right? These are still old worth, but a lot of other things don't. And then you look at rewards and you just think to yourself, why bother really? It just doesn't really matter. The reward is so minimal at the end. Yeah, I think that could really be helped regarding veteran players.
I get what you are saying. So what kind of rewards do you think would still feel meaningful or exciting for veteran players?
To me personally, in my stage, it's not really what I find, but what is blueprints. The blueprints for upgrading your flagship levels, right? Not the components, because the component parts are still valuable because you need so many to upgrade your ships, which is fine. It's cool to have a progression. It's supposed to take a while. It's fine. Obviously, the prismatic cores, which I think is a cool addition to the game. However, it seems a little bit grindy, but it's fine, really, in the end. It should take some time to get your ship to the full maxed out version of it. And obviously, the legendary power crystals that you can have. A little bit credit still, but credit is also a little bit inflational. So, but really, the rest of all the other rewards that show up, I really basically don't see them anymore. It's just that or nothing.
That's great insight. Actually, in a recent community poll, a lot of players said the same. Flagship blueprints are the most wanted rewards right now. And I also have requested to include blueprints as part of our mini contest rewards. So if you are listening to this episode, please make sure to join those mini contests. Just have one more way to earn them. And Gareth, what's your take on this? Do you think the game works well for both newcomers and the long-time Foundation fans?
I have a sense of the stories quite, it's to say reasonably well. And I do love that it's quite an epic saga and it drops in and out at different times. The Foundation, spoiler alert, is set up to fail. And that's the whole point of the Foundation, that they have to make certain decisions and be pushed in certain directions by Sheldon's plan. And the trader era is a really cool part of that. You know, their first exploration out where they need something and they have something to trade, but they don't have power. They don't have an army. They have a collective of traders. And I think the game has captured that part of it really well, where the traders both cohesive. You know, we work together, and that's been part of this podcast, that the guilds work really nicely together. And I think it's fascinating the guilds communicate and collaborate, but it's also a competition. It's also a competitive market and you're working in it. That part of the story is captured really well. And I think we've probably covered off enough that turns out to be quite a social game with some really friendly people. So yes, I think it also does a great job welcoming new players.
I love how you connected the trader era to both the story and the gameplay. And it's really encouraging to hear that you feel the game is welcoming. So building on that, my next question is, what would you love to see in the future for the game? Something that if we added it, would totally blow your mind.
For me, it's really like recently we had like a really little restructure. I'm thinking like in small things right now, right? So a little restructure on like what planets or systems we want to hold, also share with other guilds. And what I would really like is for you to revert the state of how you conquer planets, especially on older servers. I get it that it's cool for fresh on new servers, but on older servers, the system on how long it takes to conquer a planet is like, if it takes 4 hours and sometimes the timer jumps back and forth, it's really hard to tell people in your guild, by the way, do you have time for 4 hours to look at the timer going from left to right, or what's up for you this evening? You know, so like that's really something that really would be lovely if you could change it. What would also blow my mind, but which would be something very positive, is if you would find a way to merge old servers together, have it on a maybe a little bit of a different play set. Doesn't really have to be the same play set. It could also be like a little sidekick universe or whatever it would be. Because player counts are very natural for servers, a bit declining, and therefore it would be really great to also engage with new players. As we mentioned countless times in this podcast, that it's really one of the major aspects of this game's social aspect, and finding out about new people and talking to new people. And that would really kick it out the bucket or whatever you call it. Second language, I'm telling you. But you know what I mean, right? So yeah, that would be really great to engage with new players. I've never talked with them. And now I talk with one. So I have already connection to server 101, right? But in general, to talk to new people and engage with other players, that would be excellent. If I can also keep on going, the Demerzel flagship, in comparison to the two other flagships, seems more like a sidekick at best, because it's really impossible to get blueprints for it. That would be a great change to give you an option to also get that over some time. Also, the new research you added for the T7 set, for the T7 fighters, does look great. The T7 fighters look excellent, as do all the other little ships as well. However, the time that you need to get these seems exorbitant. It will take you like, I don't know, half a year or something to get to that stage. While every time when this event, the Guild versus Guild, comes up, well, every time achieving the max points and everything, which is already hard enough when you reach level 30, right? So it really needs to be a bit consolidated. So it's a bit easier to get these points or to also get this research. I get it. It should be a grind. It should be longer. It's a tier 7. It has a cool color and it looks great. So it should take time, but not that long, right? It should be something that you look forward to, and not that's like something that is the other side of the pond. And something that really bothers me personally very much is, which also maybe you also have seen, we had this event before with you, Dashu, which was like writing guides, where I had this before up already on our Discord, where I really took a deep dive on calculating all the different timers and different resources that you need for all kinds of things. By the way, it was disrupted a bit when you changed events sometimes, but it's fine. It's whatever. Yes, and looking so deep into the game because of that. I guess I just am like that from the IT background or whatever. It would be really great to get a more detailed overview on how battles are fought up and how damage is calculated. And because it sometimes feels a little randomized when some of your ships die or some of your ships don't die. And you sit there and you see your health dropping down. You're like, there's probably 3 ships gone, and it's nothing gone. And then it's like a little bit that dropped down and there's a ship dead. And you think to yourself, but why? So that would be great if you can get an in-depth analysis rather than just when you hit details, it just says 2 different numbers from left to right. And that's all you get. That'd be great. All in all, though, the game is excellent. But I think if you involve these points a little bit, or also take more inspirations from the feedback you also get, maybe not all feedback, but most feedback, right? You could elevate the game to even higher heights.
Wow, you really came prepared. That was a whole bundle of valuable feedback, and I really appreciate how clearly you laid out everything out. Honestly, a lot of the points you brought up are the things we've seen mentioned by other players too. For example, the cross-server events and the server merge have been among the top upvoted suggestions, and they were addressed in the previous dev feedback. But there are definitely other feedbacks that haven't been responded to yet. That's exactly why I always encourage players to share their thoughts in the official Discord, the feedback channel, not just to get it out there, but so other players can see it and vote on it. We collect feedback and send summaries to the devs every week. And if something really urgent comes up, we flag it immediately. But for long-term impact and visibility, it really helps when feedback gets voted on publicly. So if you or your guildmates have any feedback or suggestions like the ones you just mentioned, please don't hesitate to share them in the feedback channel. And please ask your guildmates to upvote your feedback if they agree. It honestly makes a difference. The top voted topics always stand out when we are compiling priorities for the dev team.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
And Gareth, how about you? Yeah, what would you love to see in the future for the game? Anything you really want to see in the game?
Yeah, great. And just again, I'm loving this dynamic of really mature, I'll call myself semi-mature player, because we're bouncing off with different angles. So that's really cool.
I love it as well.
So therefore that's my prelude to say that my improvements are much more humble. But, having played other games, I think this is the thing that players really do is love getting in deep and really understanding the mechanics. So completely understand and echo the points Snakebite made. For myself, there are just simple elements in the game that are sometimes just a little slow, withdrawing on investment. And just watching a screen spin for 10 seconds where you can't speed it up, and just be nice if it was quicker, because there's nothing you can influence in that screen time. So those are minor things. And
you mean the animation for...
Yeah, and the animation for plunder battles, for example, which I think I remember reading a broadcast that was already sped up, but it still feels reasonably slow when that you can't really do anything to influence it. You can't move or change positions or retreat ships and bring them back. So you're just kind of watching your screen.
What event are you referring to again? Sorry.
I think the dividends in trading, right? Or
that was the first example, where you invest in a trade, and when it arrives, you do the withdraw from investment. Yeah.
Oh, speed that up. Yeah. Well, cool.
And also, I think the reward page animation for the guild versus guild event, right?
Well, yeah, just those positions where you can't necessarily influence. It's great the first time, you get to enjoy it. And then after, it becomes repetitive. But look, that's an observation. In terms of improvements, I guess I am looking forward to seeing how the game matures, and imagine we will get more ships and characters with time, which then leads into the sort of theory crafting space of, well, what combination of them can I put together that's unique compared to who I'm going to battle against, or to take against the Ascendancy or someone. So that element I'm looking forward to. So it's not so much an improvement, just an excitement.
Great. Thanks for sharing. Before we wrap up, I want to leave a little space for anything else you would like to share. Is there anything you would like to add? Maybe a final message to the community or something we didn't get to cover today?
For me personally, I'm really thankful for the addition of my suggestion for the emotes. Very epic that you had the chance to cling 2 glasses of water together in celebration, I suppose.
Yeah, we can encourage alcoholic drinks in game.
Oh, it's fine. I got it. But it's obviously not beer, but
yeah. I saw you added this feedback and many people gave a upvote. So I think I need to get this one for you.
many German people liking beer, right? But no, that I really like the dynamic of it. Maybe like a final back or a final point would be like maybe others that listen to this not overcommit in being like R5 or the guild master in things where you feel like you have to make your decision right now, or you are being seen as weak or whatever, right? Always consider other people and lean off them as well, right? They can support you in your decisions. They can support you in your train of thoughts that you have on this, and also carry decisions out together. Yeah, don't feel overwhelmed. Have fun. Don't dig in too deep when you play this.
That's awesome. And Gareth, any final message?
Yes. Yep. And I wanted to give a shout out to one of our guild members, Aska, who, again, I was diligently chipping away at rallying for sacred tribute vessels, not realizing that the auto rally didn't apply and no one was turning up, and I was sitting out there with none of my mates. Just to have that friendly advice in game of, I noticed you doing this. Were you aware? And that was awesome. Changed an aspect of the game for me. And it also led to a conversation of, well, why don't you join our guild? And I did. And yeah, that also helped catapult me up. So that's a shout out to a friendly guild.
I think Aska always there to help, because I'm also in server 1, and sometimes I saw Aska is very kind there to help people.
100%.
Thank you for sharing everything with us. And that's it for today's episode. Thanks for tuning in, Snakebite and Gareth. So until next time, we will keep seeing each other in the community. And thank you again, both, for joining for this podcast.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
That's all for today's episode. Big thanks to our 2 amazing guests, Snakebite and Gareth, for sharing their thoughts, stories, and sci-fi spirit with us. Whether you are deep into sci-fi or just love a good space adventure, we hope you enjoyed hanging out with us and maybe saw the game in a new way. It was your host and community manager Dashu. If you'd like to talk more about the episode or share an idea for a future one, you can always reach me on our official Discord server or let us know in the YouTube comments. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, and Discord to be part of the journey. Until next time, traders, safe travels out there, and may the stars guide your way.